Hello, everybody. This is Pavel. I'm a CEO of Virtudesk, and also I run a brokerage, a real estate brokerage in Seattle area. And today we are speaking with Jay Peralta. He's a virtual assistant and an ISA, inside sales agent. And we're speaking with Timour, who's a product VP of product at TYMBL Technologies. So we're discussing, what are we discussing, Jay? We're talking about how you are making success for your clients and for yourself.
Absolutely.
And how you're using the different tools and technology to help you leverage your work. Jay,
Right.
how are you?
All good, man. Thank you so much for having me with this webinar. It's an honor to be here, part of this. Thank you so much.
Of course. So Jay, I'll just tell the audience a little bit about myself. Those who don't know me, I run a real estate brokerage, and the agents, hire people like you, like Jay Peralta, like Jay, to make calls and to prospect. Also, my understanding, you're working with one of our brokers
Right.
and doing recruiting calls, right?
Exactly.
Tell me how you work. Tell me how everything's working out for you. What exactly you're doing as an inside sales agent?
I'm actually directly reporting to Masha, their Nexus Realty. So my title pretty much is to introduce myself as a growth manager of Nexus Realty.
Okay.
So what I do is I reach out to real estate agents around Washington. So I give them a call, reach out to these agents that possibly wanting to move, looking for some changes in their careers, and also maybe wanting to benefit from having 100% commission kind of brokerage. Also check different platforms like Facebook ads, LinkedIn research, Zillow, email campaigns. So I do send some emails to real estate agents as well, together with a pretty simple presentation that contains about Nexus Realty.
Perfect.
So when I get in touch with them, I tell them how Nexus Realty as a virtual brokerage can actually make a changes over to how they are actually approaching the market.
Thank you, Jay. And also, it looks like I know you also working for another customer in California doing
Right.
similar type of work, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. When you reach out to the the prospects, do you have a huge list of prospects you reach out to?
I do have. They
How do you
provide me everything.
and what tools do you use to do that? Because my understanding, I mean, if you be say, I mean, let's just say for the
Mm,
audience, you're located in the Philippines, so you don't have a direct U.S. number, right?
right. Exactly.
So you need to have some sort of a VoIP system with a U.S. number that allows you to make calls into the United States without a cost, and also that looks like on a caller ID you're calling from the United States, right?
True.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're using what technology are you using to do that?
I do use a power dialer to do that, which is called TYMBL.
Okay.
So I use TYMBL to reach out to different real estate agents. I have a specific phone number that I used whenever I actually have to report to Masha and also to California. So I will appear as calling from California and calling from Washington whenever I dial the number.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, that's how it looks like.
Okay. And we also have VP of Product Management here, Timour. Timour, hi. How are you?
Hey guys. Hey Pavel.
Yes.
Hey Jay.
Hey. Yeah.
So
So we're talking to Jay here, and glad you're actually on the call with us. And you're behind the product development of a TYMBL, a power dialer. So maybe you could also chime in and tell us more a little bit about it, the power dialer that Jay is using, and how is
Yeah.
it beneficial for his business. I mean, we already heard that that's making his life easier. That just wanted to see what you can tell us about it.
Yeah. A little bit of background info on the power dialer itself. We developed it for ourselves initially. We were in the business of qualifying leads, and we were looking for some simple tool to be able to actually make a lot of calls. And we tried a few different packages that were available on the market, and none of them would fit our needs. Some of them were just unstable because most of our ISAs were abroad and they were not able to actually use the tools due to the internet connection constraints. Some of them were just too cumbersome or too expensive. And so we devised one for ourselves. We were using it for a few months. We were making a lot of outbound dials, and it was quite successful. So we decided to add a little bit more features so that it's commercially available, and open it up to other real estate agents who have teams, and anyone actually who is making a lot of calls to qualified leads or to do prospecting. So I can even demo a little bit if you guys don't.
Yeah, actually, I mean, as the saying goes, it's better to see it once than to hear about it
Sure,
100 times. So why don't you show us? Why don't you show us what you're talking about?
All right, let me know if you.
So this is the dashboard of a TYMBL. This is a power dialer that Jay's using and other ISAs are using it, right?
Yep. I logged in as one of our own ISAs. It's kind of a meta thing. He is selling our services, and he's using our own dialer, our power dialing prospecting platform to do that. And so you land, once you log in, you land on this dashboard, and here you can see what's he's been up to. You can see the total number of calls that he made. Wow. Yeah, he's making a lot of dials. He converted 20 leads. He sent a lot of text messages, and then he could send this report to anyone from this link, and it'll actually reflect what you see here in an email. Typically, this is something that virtual assistants use to keep their clients up to date. So the first thing you do in order for you to start creating.
So let's say this is you are a busy professional. Let's say you're a salesperson and you have you just bought a lot of leads, like a yellow pages type of low integrity leads, and you need to just go through them quickly as possible to scrub them, and also, or let's say you have a huge database of clients or past clients or just basically leads. You just upload it into a dialer platform, right?
Yeah, and the way that you do it, you can get those leads, just like you said, anywhere. You bought them, and that's the typical standard of those leads is CSV. It's comma delimited file. You can export from any CRM, and then you.
So CSV is actually Excel file, right? So that people understand what it means.
Yeah, it's a format that's very common, and typically people use Excel or Google Sheets to view it or to edit it. In this case, this is a test campaign that I've created. And all it is, it's just names. And like you said, like in the instructions here, it's first name, last name, telephone number, and then maybe some notes. The rest of the stuff is you could keep if you're exporting this from a CRM. We're just conveniently going to ignore them. And let me show you. So I just took that file, and it had first, last name, and phone numbers, and a couple of notes. And so I have
a question. I have a question from the audience. A question from the audience that says, "How TYMBL is different than Mojo?"
Well, TYMBL is it's not just a power dialer. It's like a light CRM where you can manage the leads directly in it. But also, it has a built-in VoIP. Like, you don't need to use your cell phone or buy a separate subscription to another VoIP dialer like Read Central. Everything is built in. So the way that it's convenient, it's like if you have a VA abroad, they get to pick a local number, and then you don't have to share another dialer or your cell phone with them. It's all built in. Right. And it's pricing wise, we're on the par or actually even below. And then we also test out Mojo. Mojo is great. It's a fantastic platform, but our ISAs found it a bit cumbersome. And this is a considerably simpler tool that we have. Let me show you. I just uploaded that test campaign, and so And that test campaign would look like, let me show you. So it'll look pretty simple. Like at this moment, you are ready to go. You can you can launch the auto dialing campaign from here, and you start dialing multiple numbers by. So
I have a question from Joseph.
Yeah.
He's asking, what's the difference between RC and Mojo and TYMBL? I think you already answered a question about Mojo and TYMBL, but what about Ring Central?
Yeah. Ring Central is just a dialer. That's it. Like it just basically provides you a way to dial out.
I think it's probably important to differentiate what a dialer is, what a power dialer is, and what a VoIP is, so people have a better understanding what we're talking about here.
That's good call. So a regular dialer is just a phone number. Like you know, here's a typical dialer. So you have like Google Voice, for example, could operate as a dialer. Skype or Skype for Business can. It's just that dial pad, and you could dial the numbers. You may or may not have a local number, and that's all it does. You can also sometimes receive calls on it. So we have that built in. But a power dialer is when you can run a campaign, like you see on the screen, and you could launch it, and it'll automatically dial a bunch of numbers, and then you could set the statuses here. You could take notes, and it allows you to make a lot of dials. Like let's say from a regular dial pad, like Google Voice, you could probably dial a few dozens of calls. When you switch to a power dialer and run a dialing campaign, you immediately increase this several fold. You know, our ISAs were averaging about 400 dials per day once we switched to this kind of format.
400 dials per day. Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Well, or more sometimes, yeah. And so
That's less than what I actually have experienced, man. I dialed a lot of numbers than ever before.
Yeah. Well, let me show you. So I just made those two dials, and I canceled those calls myself. So you have this call disposition or status that you can turn on, and then tweak the status in accordance to how the calls went. There's also a bunch of automated status if you don't want to tweak the status, and then you can take notes. And I can probably show you, actually, this is a test campaign, so I can show you maybe something that was done by a real ISA, because I'm logging into his account. 1 second. Let me see. So let's say, let's look at the hot leads for.
Let's say you run a campaign, you generate leads. Let's say you run a Facebook leads campaign, and you generate a lot of leads that, you don't know those numbers are good or bad. So the best way to test them out is to load them up into the power dialer and run them, and pretty much, if anybody's good, then you can talk to them. If not, you can just discard the number.
That's right.
Yeah.
So in this case, he set the status as interested to this particular person. I'm not going to call him, and I can see if he put in any notes about this particular person. So he did put in a note that the person seems to be interested, and you can from this one panel, you can also send text messages and communicate with them via text.
Oh, you can also send text messages. That's
yes,
good.
Right. So we also have an unlimited number of text messages that you can send to and fro with those leads, and in one centralized spot. So and nothing else. Like there's this is a very simple, but we zero in on specific value of the prospecting tool without other frankly distracting features. This is like pure value of prospecting right there in front of you at your fingertips. You don't have anything extra. So that's what we liked when we created the simple tool for us, and we find that a lot of users who switch from fairly complicated CRMs to us, or fairly complicated power dialers, they like the simplicity. They like how intuitive this is.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jay, it's easier. It makes your job as an IC way easier, I bet, to use something like this, right?
Totally, man. But when the first time that I saw TYMBL, it was really simple. I don't just like what Timour actually have mentioned earlier. You don't have to use a third party tool just to start up, a power dialer. TYMBL actually just does the job. I don't have any kind of problem because some other tool, other dialer that I used before, it's just causing me a lot of errors. It's just freezing my system, because the reason being is that they have this a lot of add-on services that are not even necessary, right? I don't
Yeah.
know if somebody actually even have clicked them, but I didn't myself when I used them. So TYMBL actually is quite different. Pretty simple.
Yeah, it is indeed. You let me maybe show you a couple of other things what you could do. I mean, ultimately, it's a prospecting tool that lets you run those campaigns. You can make a lot of dials. You can communicate with your prospects via text message, and it's in this unified fashion. But you can also make cold calls. Let's say if you don't have leads organized in a neat Excel file or CSV, you can use it as just a regular dial pad dialer. You can make those calls, and every time you do, they are then logged into a specific campaign that's called unknown. And all the calls that you make and all the calls that you receive, if they're not a member of any of the auto dialing campaigns, they all appear here, and then you can transfer them from the campaigns. So you manage these leads through this very simple UI.
I have a couple questions here.
Yep.
Anna is asking, are there any options with TYMBL for me to stay organized with my leads?
Yeah. You can organize them in the campaigns, and then in the campaigns, you can filter them by specific status. So let's say, let me open one of the real campaigns here that our MSA used. So you can filter them by the status that let's say if I only want to call people who were interested before. And so you can create a separate campaign based on the statuses themselves. And in this case, I'm only going to be interested.
And you're gonna call people who are interested.
Yeah, you're only going to be calling the ones that.
Same thing. Let's say you want to call back those that were no answers. Like you try to call somebody and people didn't answer.
Right.
You can call them back. Let's say you have a lot of people who are not interested. You can just somehow sort them out and put them in a back burner.
Yep.
Or discard them.
Or call them the next time.
Yeah, that's right. So that makes it very easy. Easy organization by call disposition of by call statuses, which I think our users appreciate. But yet it still is very, very simple. So
yeah. Excellent. I have a question here from Jessica. She says, "What's the cost of TYMBL and are there any contracts, long-term contracts?"
No, there are no contracts. TYMBL costs. The power dialer option is $80, and we have a simpler version of it that's $30. So it's $29.99 and $79.99. The simpler version of it, let's say if you're just starting out, you don't have thousands and thousands of leads, you just need a dial pad and also a convenient way where you can manage your leads. That's an option for you. And then you can also you can start out with $29.99. And then as a real estate agent or, I don't know, insurance salesman, if you then amass a larger number of leads and you really need to start running the auto dialing campaigns, you can switch over to the $80 plan.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Or let's say if you have a virtual assistant who is in the Philippines or any other country, or like somebody like Jay, they need a US number to call out.
Exactly.
Let's say to even respond to calls, then it's probably best to get a TYMBL Lite.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a US number, because the TYMBL also able to accept inbound calls, right?
Inbound calls, and then they can leave messages. You can set your voicemail, and
you can do a voicemail drop, right?
Well, we're working on adding the voicemail drop.
Yep. I heard it's about like 10 days out from release.
Yeah. We're finishing this up. So what this will allow you to do, this would increase the number of dials that you can do probably 2 to 3 fold. those features are specifically for people who have thousands and thousands of leads. Like, let's say if you buy something where you buy a CSV file with 20,000 leads, and you want to, and they're fairly low fidelity, like almost yellow pages. And then you want to qualify them, but you don't want to spend the time calling 20,000 of them individually. You load them into an auto dialing campaign, and you then start dialing them on 3 different lines simultaneously. So let's say then your number will jump 2 to 3 fold. Let's say if you were making 500 dials per day with a power dialer, it'll be upwards of 1,000 or 1,500, depending, I guess, on your own efficiencies. But this will.
The more calls you make, the more chances of conversion you have.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like a theory of big numbers, right? It's like some sales professionals, they live by it day to day. The more dials you make, I mean, let's say if your conversion is 1%.
The numbers can tell, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a pretty simple math. Let's say if you know your conversion of 1% or less, you increase that chance of getting that prospect who now then becomes a hot lead or even turns into a sale, the more dials you make. And that's what we're going for. That's the feature that we're going to be rolling out within a few days.
Well, one thing actually that I wanted to add on is that I don't know if actually a lot of people actually knows this, but since that I'm actually working and dialing myself, right, as a frontliner, let's just say that.
Frontliner.
Yeah. So what I did observe, since I used different types of dialers before, some people actually didn't know that there are some companies or services in the US that will be able to recognize that you are using a dialer, and that's a trouble with it. Yeah, that's a trouble with the other dialers that I've encountered before. I will come out as a code. I will not gonna come out as a number that is based in the US, that is based in the United States, that's based in Washington or California. So that's a pretty big disadvantage for the other dialer that I have used
you
before.
mean like you can come up as a spam or unknown or something?
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, on a caller ID. Yeah.
No, we typically, and I can't say 100% of the time, but most of our numbers that you purchase, it's actually a regular number, no different from what you would have gotten from a provider like, I don't know, T-Mobile or something. And then it's a real number. It's not virtual.
And it's local, yeah.
Right.
And it's a local number. So
that's how it's going to show up.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, it'll not appear as spam.
Question from Adam: can calls be recorded for trading purposes in the future for my team? Let's say I have a ISA and I want to record calls.
Yeah, it's already available. So every call you make, you can record and then download the file anytime. Yeah. Perfect.
And I have a question from Peter. Do you have any special promos for someone who wants to use TYMBL for the first time and to try it out?
Oh, that's a great question. So yeah, every line that we sell, every account is set up as a 5x5 trial. Essentially, you pay $5 and you use it for 5 days to try it out. And the reason why we're doing this is that we pay for those numbers. We pay for you purchasing the actual number.
It's basically $5 for 5 days. I mean, what do you got to lose? Try it out, TYMBL, for $5. Use it for 5 days. See if you like it. We have and I'm sure you're gonna like. We using TYMBL. We love it. As a company, Virtudesk, we actually partner up with TYMBL right now, and we're providing to our VAs currently that they can actually dial out for the clients, and you can try it out for $5 only. Try it and see if it works. If it does, great. Then nothing else is needed, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. You can just simply cancel. So
it's just gonna be worth it. I'm telling you that.
Exactly.
we did actually try that one. The very first time that we actually have used it, it was crazy, man. It was overwhelmed with the numbers that I was able to dial and people that I was able to reach out.
Perfect. And trust me, guys, when Jay says it's worth it, it is. He's the one. He's a frontliner guy who's actually dialing, who's dialing for a living. That's what he's doing. Yeah.
Well, I can't stress enough. I mean, thank you for this kind of feedback. I really appreciate it. I can't stress enough that this is the tool that we developed internally. Like we were running a long-term project where we had to qualify a bunch of leads, like tens of thousands of leads, And we did it through machine learning as the first barrier, but then the second one, we actually had to make those calls out. And yeah, this was an internally used and tried tool for about 6 months before this was rolled out to other people. So it's effectively a sales tool that's developed by salespeople and for those
Exactly.
sales.
Yeah. A question from Lily, and I think we already answered it. She says, is there any type of lock-in period for a contract? There is no contract.
There's no contract. You can cancel anytime. You go to settings, and it's a single button click. You cancel
So
this.
it's month-to-month thing. And question from Sam, is there any way I can maintain a do not call list? Scrub the do not call.
Yes, we do provide a scrubbing service. You send us the leads, and then within a couple of days, we scrub it against all do not call databases that's available in North America. For at the moment, it's only available in North America, US, and Canada, and we're looking at Europe and looking at other countries at the moment. But yeah, absolutely,
it is possible. Perfect. Well, gentlemen, so it was a very productive meeting, I believe. So we're not gonna just bore everybody else, but those who want to reach out and learn more about TYMBL, just go to TYMBL.com. It's TYMBL.com, or send me a DM, and I'll be more than happy to connect you with TYMBL rep to get it going. But the best way is just go to TYMBL.com and set up the account, try it out, test it out, see how it goes. $5. It's less than obviously it's less than one cup of coffee a day.
All right.
It's only not gonna leave after that, after testing it.
Exactly. And the reason I know that TYMBL is providing this offer of 5 for 5 is because they know that once you test the product, you're gonna stay and you're gonna love using it. Yeah.
That's
all right, gentlemen, it's been productive. So let's just wrap it up. And
thank you so much, Paul.
All right, guys. You have a good one, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Later.